everyone and welcome. Yes, my name is Arrowfire and welcome back to another episode of Look Out and Shout. And yep, it's been a bit of a hot minute, so we're going to get on with another review. And today, finally, we are reviewing Metagate G-04 Air King, their version of a Masterpiece Terrorsaur, and that is right up my Beast Wars street. That is a very nice box, and it's a very nice design on it. It's very cartoony of the Beast Wars design. Now, Metagate, I'm not familiar with as a company, and there's very limited information online. Is it Transform Element? I don't think so. I don't think it's Transart either, just so happens to be a Beast Wars character. It could just be a brand new design. It certainly looks it, but we'll get into that. So yeah, it's been a bit of a while to review this figure. It's been out for a while now, and a lot of other people have reviewed it. I got it, and it was at the time of the Predator King video, and a few other things going on as well. I kind of put it on the back burner for a bit, but one I definitely wanted to do. Terrorsaur is one of my favourite Beast Wars characters, and I actually think this was brave for a new company to try. So going from a robot mode, a clean robot mode, into a pterodactyl for any company is hard to tackle. So anyone having a go at it, Takara or otherwise, had a challenge on, much less a brand new company. Still, let's have a look at what's inside. So not the most ceremonious internal packaging, it's just box standard plastic, and it's got some accessories which we'll go into with the figure, which I've taken a lot of these out as well. It comes with a stand, it comes with some alternative faces, alternative guns and weapons as well, and the figure itself also comes with instructions and a collector's card. A bit basic, but that's not this figure's selling point. Let's take a look. And here he is in his robot mode. And whilst he can be a little bit of a nightmare to stand up, he does pose and clean up very well. First thing that strikes me really from getting him on a turntable is that the ankles don't have as much movement as they should. Whilst you're good to get him in a stance like this, a typical A stance with the hips and the knees, the hip ratchets, soft friction ratchets, are actually pretty good. The ankles don't move as well as they could, and they'll unfold for transformation, but they just seem too static for my liking. There's more of an outward ankle tilt than an inward one, and it makes this kind of pose a bit harder to sustain, easy to topple over because he's not angled to flatten the weight. But it looks very, very nice and still poses very well. There's good articulation in this figure. Straight out of the box, it's very clean. I can't imagine how this turns into a pterodactyl, how they've managed to do this, and more importantly, why they would use this as a figure to tackle. This is going to be one of the hardest transformations in terms of a concept of a slender, sleek robot design into a beast mode that's anything but. And the fact that they picked this one first, they were obviously very confident in the design that they had. He looks really good. It's so show accurate in so many ways. They've done an outstanding job. That marbling of the scales on the chest and the arms is lovely. The red is quite a dull cherry red, but does pop really well under the lights. I don't know if that comes across on camera. The grey, the detailing, is like it's straight off the TV screen. It's a very impressive figure, if the worst thing I can say about it is the ankles, at least at this stage. Let's get in for a closer look. And immediately you can see that kind of metallic-y look really makes the figure stand up. It's not that heavy as well, so this is mostly just really dense plastic rather than die cast, which is good from a material perspective, yet it still looks very vibrant. The paint is doing most of the work here. I will say the head sculpt I'm not as wild on, and it comes with 3 different head sculpts. This is more of a smirky one, which is fine, but it doesn't, for me, fully capture the animation look from the show, and Terrorsaur had a very expressive character. It's not to say this is bad, but considering how good other elements of the rest of the figure is, that doesn't feel as good as it could be. So the face he has on at the moment is more of a slight smirking face. He also comes with a very angry, shouty face, which you can't really see. and he comes with a very, very smirky face. But I will say, getting it on is a little bit awkward. You almost have to tilt it in from the eyes first and then slot it down because it's in a slight V around the cheeks and the jaw. I found it a little bit difficult to the point that when I got the first one off, I wasn't sure if I was going to get the next one on, and that doesn't look so good underneath with no faceplate on. But there you go, that's how he looks like with that smirky face, and that is the best one of the lot. It is adding real character to it. As I say, just oozing character. And here he is holding some of his guns. They look pretty good, some of the accessories. This mostly comes from the episode Power Surge from the first season of Beast Wars, where Terrorsaur gets an upgrade through unstable energon straight into his superstructure, and miraculously he gets weapons that we've never seen before. He comes with his traditional pistol, but also comes with this massive rifle that we never see again in the show, as well as these shoulder cannons, which we do see again in the show, but maybe are a bit more prominent in the Power Surge episode. Talking of his pistol, now this is very show accurate. It is just a bog standard pistol, but I'm not really wild to the fact that it's got like a pink tip to it. The show always had it in red. And when you put it with the rest of the figure, how the rest of the kit is red throughout, I can't work out why he's got a pink edge to his gun. And when you put it in his hand, it really does stand out. But this actually comes from a long line of Transformers with weapons colouring different to what their show actually had. It's starting to happen more and more, and I can't honestly tell you why. Articulation-wise, he's got more than you ever need, in as much as you've got ratchets on the shoulders and gives a good range of rotation, even though his back wings that are really there for design will want to catch the backpack, so the outward motion is a bit limited. But you get double elbow bend, which is nice. Joints are a little bit firmer to move but not too stiff. You get wrist rotation, palm open, even thumb movement, so holding the gun is maybe a little bit on the awkward side because you have only a very small groove to plug into. Waist rotation, yes, and even an ab up, not an ab crunch down, but an ab up, which again, more for transformation. Leg movement is pretty good, with outward at the hip, ratchet on the knees. You can hold a good flight pose to use with the flight stand. Ankle tilt down is nice, and to plug in, you can plug him into the stand, and now he can do his best Superman impression. But again, you get him into some really good poses as a result of that. You can get some good leg stance, but the ankles again seem to restrict some of the complete poses you can get. This one's fine, but I can't rotate the ankles even side to side. So whilst that's still a very good pose, and I do like what he offers, I do deduct him something for the ankles. That feels like a bit of a miss to me. Comparison wise, we'll go right in on this. Here he is alongside a Masterpiece version of Beast Wars Megatron. That is a pretty good Masterpiece scale, and I kind of get the impression they designed this height comparison with these figures in mind. Here he is alongside Takara Masterpiece Optimus Primal. A bit too tall for my liking. I know Primal was never the tallest figure, but he's dwarfing Primal, and I don't think that was the scale in the cartoon. Here he is alongside Masterpiece Cheetor. Again, a bit too big. This was always a small representation of Cheetor. Here he is alongside a Masterpiece version of Tigatron. A bit more like it, but again, I feel Tigatron was bigger still. Here he is alongside Masterpiece Dinobot, and that's much more in keeping with scale, but Dinobot was not a small figure, and this is not a small Masterpiece. I love this comparison. And here he is alongside Kingdom Golden Disc version of Terrorsaur, which I really did enjoy as a figure. But yeah, this is clearly Masterpiece now with a cleaner comparison. And you won't see this comparison very often, so this is quite a good one. Here he is alongside the Transmetal 2 version of Megatron. Obviously these two never shared a screen together, but I actually really quite like how that is. I like the dynamic stare of the two, the similar colour scheme. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Okay, let's get him transformed up into beast mode. And here he is in his beast mode, and that is a very clean red pterodactyl. It's a fairly interesting transformation. Okay, first things first, it all folds out from a slender robot into that. And yes, you can see panels, but that's very impressive. That's incredibly thin, incredibly flat, incredibly well thought out to get it from one to the other. Was it fun? Meh. It was intuitive in parts. It was awkward in others. Some bits were just silly. Some things you had to do, and this comes back to what's said on other videos, getting in each other's way, parts of the transformation getting in each other's way, are quite apparent. But that is the end result, and my God, doesn't it look good. It's a very toon accurate representation of Terrorsaur, and Takara have got to go some now to beat this. If they're going to carry on with their Beast Wars Masterpiece line, which I'm sure they'll give it a go, but this is a very, very good attempt, if this is to be the first release of a new company. Let's get in for a closer look. So you can see that this is really just a very thin, very well built pterodactyl, and it's great. It really is. It's got tremendous character of the face. And yes, the eyeballs do move. You have to kind of push them with either the tip of your thumb, but you can get the eyes to actually move up and down, give it even more expression. You can get the beak to open as well. Head to go up and down. That's how he looks from the underneath. That's what he looks like from the back. And that is absolutely lovely. Now, I did have, dare I say, a bit of breakage. And let me show you. This came off the foot in that part there is part of the robot mode foot that needs to fold back and tuck in and be part of the under panel of the wing. I don't know if it's fully complete. I would say, looking at the other side, that there's a cover there. Either a bit has broken off or it wasn't assembled in the first place, but I can't get a full rotation on it, which is a shame. It doesn't affect the transformation, and that's just on my copy. I actually haven't heard of this having QC issues, but it is really something that they've gone from the two modes, and hopefully I've done everything right. Hopefully I've got it to such a pose that everything is where it needs to be. He stands pretty well, actually. The ankles I didn't think they'd hold, but he actually stands quite well in that mode. Getting the robot legs to form the upper part of the wings and then getting them to peg into the folded out bit of the wings which come from the torso of the robot mode was awkward, and you had to do a lot of jiggery pokery, a lot of moving around to get everything to line up. But once you did, I will say stuff holds. This bit round the neck, which is actually the top of his knees, I suppose, knees going down there, the shins of the bot mode, that was the worst part of the transformation. It wasn't a brilliant transformation, but an intuitive one, certainly. Very quickly getting into comparisons, here he is alongside Trans Art's offering of a Trans Metal 2 Rat Trap. Seeing these two side by side in that metallic, and this has got chrome and this is more of a metallic paint scheme, but it's actually popping really nicely, even though these two were never on screen at the same time in this guise. Again, two others who never appeared on same screen at the same time. Here's Trans Metal 2 Megatron, the legacy version, alongside the Metagate Air King. Really love how these two look, actually. That's quite an interesting comparison of the two. But I don't really have any other beasts to hand. Here he is alongside Planet X Cacus to give you a Dinobot versus Predacon feel. And the only accessory he really comes with for this mode is his stand, which you can use in bot mode as well. This one is much more apparent for where you can use it. And that's a very good way of displaying a lovely masterpiece, Terrorsaur. You can get him posing for all the right angles with that lovely wingspan of his. So what are my final views on Terrorsaur Air King? It is a gorgeous robot mode, and this is where I think you certainly have to commend any company for having the gall to tackle a figure like this. There's going to be some Beast Wars figures that someone will have to do sooner or later where you have to put a lot of kibble of an animal away, and that's a hell of a design to tackle first. The very slender design that is Terrorsaur to put wings and scales and legs and talons all into a slender body. And Inferno and Rhinox are going to have the similar problem whenever they get Masterpiece editions as well. So any company who feels they can tackle it, that takes some gall to do so, much less someone who does it well. And this is done well in that it's a lovely robot mode. It really, really is. Maybe a bit on the tall side when you look at the comparisons. It doesn't quite scale with some of the figures. It certainly goes alongside a Masterpiece Megatron, but Dwarf's Optimus Primal, which I'm not crazy about, it doesn't carry a lot of die-cast, but what it does well. The proportions, the ratchets are very nice. I just wish that ankle tilt was better. I really do. That actually holds back on some of the posability, yet the posability is still very good, but it could have been better. I like it. I do wish the face sculpt was maybe a bit more on point in that it just kind of sinks in. There's this kind of almost soap bar look expression to the face that doesn't hit you straight away despite being bright and white. The colour, the paint is lovely, and I haven't noticed any chippage to it. I really haven't. It's a very pretty figure. The articulation is very good. The accessories are nice, not perfect. I would have liked to have seen maybe a bigger rifle to use in the episode Power Surge, where he pulls out this massive rifle from nowhere. It's quite an intimidating gun. The gun that comes with, it's maybe quite thin on the barrel, and plus I cannot work out why his pistol has a pink tip to it when the rest of him is red. The transformation is... well, the transformation is. What can I say? It's involved. And yes, I had seen the videos from Ben's Collectibles and from MGO saying about a figure getting in its own way. That's very, very true. But I am prepared to give it a pass, because how was this going to be anything else? How was a transforming pterodactyl going to be easy? It wasn't. So there was always going to be a form of origami. Yeah, it wasn't fun. Doesn't make it any more enjoyable. And I've said, and I've got to stand by what I say, if a transformation isn't enjoyable, then it fails as a transformer. Maybe. And I certainly would have to deduct it something for that. But I do like both modes. I certainly like the character it brings in Beast mode. That head sculpt for it in Pterodactyl mode is brilliant. It's a feat of engineering, and it's really good to tackle it. It doesn't mean it's a home run, but it's a very, very good effort. For the Beast mode, I maybe would have liked to have seen a more skin-coloured chest as opposed to the silver we got, but I accept that's the bot mode, and that's kind of what's shining through. The Pterodactyl mode was going to have its problems, was going to have its challenges. The fact that that's all they've got to show for it is actually pretty good going, considering how bad it could have been. There's no parts forming, there's no detachable wings. It is all compacted up in here somewhat. The flight stand I do wish was maybe a little bit more articulate, maybe with a rotating arm that you could get some flatter flight poses to it, but overall, not bad. So based on this, I give this figure 3.5 Rodimus Star Badges, and it's really only the transformation that holds it back, and maybe the dwarfing size, but the presentation is gorgeous. It really, really is. But then again, it's not a statue. It's meant to be transformed, it's meant to be posed, it's meant to be played with, and if I can't pose without insufficient ankle tilt, then that's a bit of a shame. However lovely it isn't enough to bump it up a higher score. And there we go, that's my review of Metagate's G-04 Air King, their version of a Masterpiece Terrorsaur. Thanks for watching, and as always, I will see you on the next one.